Good morning, everyone. Welcome to an all-new Artsbeat TV and radio. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. We're broadcasting on Westfield Community Programming, 89.5 FM WSKB, Agawam Media, and Southwick Community Television. Our first guest this morning is the new artistic director of Ballet Hartford, Claire Kretzschmar. And she's choreographed for the company before, but this is her first season as artistic director. She comes to Hartford from New York City Ballet, where she was a soloist and performed in works by Justin Peck and George Balanchine and Jerome Robbins and other major choreographers. And she's had a career as a dancer and a choreographer and a podcaster, and now the artistic director of Ballet Hartford. Welcome, Claire.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
My first question is, how did you discover Ballet Hartford, or how did they discover you?
It's funny you ask. I was visiting with the company manager of Ballet Hartford just yesterday, and she was reminding me how it all happened. But basically, we were connected through a mutual friend, me and the company manager of Ballet Hartford, I think back in the fall of 2021. We just had a phone call. We talked about ballet and dance and hit it off really well. And then fast forward to after my retirement from New York City Ballet, we reconnected. I visited Ballet Hartford to do a master class in a choreography workshop, and I felt like I was at home. And I had a great time with the dancers, and so they invited me back to stage a work, Peter and the Wolf, that I had done when I was growing up. And then I actually asked to come back to stage my first piece that would be performed live on a stage called Ceremony of Carols. And again, it's just been such a great experience that together we developed this new leadership where I'll be the artistic director, and the former artistic director will be the executive director, and that's Lena Doran.
That's great. So there's a little bit of continuity there as you arrive.
As I arrived, yeah, I mean, it's just been great. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to start over. The company already exists and you have connections. So for you, it's come in and do some new work and great work and not have to bring a company back from ruins.
Yes, that's exactly right. I am so grateful that there is an infrastructure that I can build from. Although I will say that right now, because we're hoping to deepen our presence in the Hartford community, as well as like I have grand ideas for building new works. So we're spending quite a lot of time right now really finessing the existing infrastructure and making sure that we can grow in a sustainable way.
You've just, I guess, yesterday announced your new season. Why don't you, or at least the fall part of it, why don't you go through the upcoming programs that you have? And we'll remind people that you can go to Ballet Hartford's website at ballethartford.com and get detailed information on the programs and order tickets. So, Claire, what have you scheduled for fall?
Yes, so our first performance is on October 5th. It's a Saturday and it's at 4 o'clock. And it's more of a lecture demonstration. So at that performance, which will take place at an outdoor theater in Avon, Connecticut, I will be leading a lecture that includes some demonstrations by our students at the School of Ballet Hartford, some of our professional dancers in the trainee program at Ballet Hartford, which is the kind of pre-professional division. And then we'll have some company artists do excerpts from upcoming shows that you can see later in the year. The next performance, oh, and I should say that at that performance in Avon on October 5th, there is a cocktail reception afterwards. So I hope to meet some new faces and again, build up this support for this great company. On November 16th, we're starting an official collaboration with the Hillstead Museum, which we have an event called Behind the Ballet, which is similar to the October 5th occasion, except that we will be going deep into one of my new works called A Ceremony of Carols and speaking about the process of building a new ballet from scratch. And then we have our traditional Nutcracker Short and Sweet, which is on November 24th at the Wadsworth Mansion. That's something that the company has been doing for a long time, and we have had great audience support, and people seem to love it. There's a food component, like a little sweet component that we have as well for all those who come. And then finally on November 30th, we have our big theater performance at the University of St. Joseph in the evening at 7:30 p.m. And that show will feature, it's called A Ceremony of Carols, but it features Lena Doran's piece, Holiday Happenings, and then my first work that ever premiered on a stage, which is A Ceremony of Carols.
I would assume that you've got works in winter and spring that you're not going to announce yet, but that you're planning. In terms of repertoire, is most of what's going to be done your repertoire, or will you incorporate works that have been done by other choreographers?
That's a great question. And I hope to do both. I hope to choreograph a number of new works myself. And then I also hope to incorporate existing pieces. I hope to bring in a piece by George Balanchine someday. That would be a great full circle moment for me because Balanchine, the Balanchine style was what I grew to love at New York City Ballet and as a student. So I hope to bring in existing works, and then I hope to collaborate with some new up and coming choreographers because I think that a diverse repertoire is good for dancers, and I also think it's good for me not to have to always be domineering the choreography because I also like to engage and collaborate with other artists, especially local talent that we can pull from this area, which there is a lot of.
You've worked with a lot of different choreographers or choreography at City Ballet in New York. You did work by Jerome Robbins and George Balanchine. The time that you were there was a big transitional time for New York City Ballet. What were some of the high points for you during your career there?
Yes, well, I think some high points included dancing some of the iconic roles that every young dancer aspires to do, such as the Sugar Plum Fairy in George Balanchine's The Nutcracker. I got to be in a number of new works by, as you said, Justin Peck, and it was a great gift to have something created on you, something that was original. And I really loved going on tour. I really loved sharing the gift of great ballet to different states, to different countries. And I found that it was also a nice time for the dancers to just bond and to be together as people and to have some unique and fun experiences navigating a new territory.
How did you get to New York City Ballet? When did you know that you wanted to dance professionally? And what was your path to get that audition and then get into the company?
Hmm. I knew later in my young adult life that I wanted to be a professional dancer. All that I knew growing up until I was about maybe 16 was that I loved ballet and that it just felt right in my body and I understood music. And so I just kept pursuing it with the goal of getting better and enjoying it, I think. But when I was in high school, I went to the School of American Ballet for 4 summer programs, which is the prestigious school that leads into New York City Ballet, if you're fortunate. And so I went to that school for 4 summer programs. I eventually landed there for their year-round program when I was a senior in high school. And I ended up graduating high school, returning to the School of American Ballet for kind of like a gap year of training, so to speak. And at that time was when the former director of New York City Ballet, Peter Martins, hired me and another dancer, Emily Kikta, to join as apprentices, which is the lowest rank in the company, but the kind of like the internship role where you have to see if you're good enough to move up to the next level. So I joined New York City Ballet when I guess it was 2010, and I stayed there until 2022.
And in the meantime, you were also able to get a college degree and diversify in choreography and all of that while you were with New York City Ballet.
Yes, It was challenging to fit in those courses, but I am really happy that I went to college and I learned a lot when I was there. I also learned a lot about time management and organization, which I hope will help me as director of Ballet Hartford because it's already um, rightfully so, a time-consuming profession that requires great diligence and communication and organization. So anyway, yes, I did go to Fordham. I was grateful that it was so close to Lincoln Center. I just walked 2 blocks south and got a degree over the course of 8 years. And I am really grateful for that training because I majored in communications, which is proving to be very helpful in this business.
I know you have a podcast. How did that start?
Yes, that's funny because when I was, I guess it was 2019, I was injured. And my other good friend, who's now my co-host on the podcast, he was also injured. And so we spent a lot of time together that summer. We just received an email invitation asking us if we would do a test, a trial for this new podcast series that they wanted to do, which is a part of the larger City Ballet, the podcast. And our series is titled The Rosin Box. And we call it the fun one because we don't talk so much about history. We don't talk so much about like analyzing things, but we talk about like the heart of ballet and like what interests people and how do artists work. So anyway, we did a trial where we went to this booth. My friend and I, we were kind of cold in the beginning, but then we warmed up so much so that we wanted to stay and chit chat and have it be recorded. But we had to go because it was just a trial. But that little trial got delivered to the key media people at New York City Ballet, and they said, you guys have a good rapport, and why don't you try this series?
Yeah, I mean, I think of this program not only as radio and TV, but a podcast. And I don't know about you, but I like the idea that you can program something and you're not tied down to a 5 minute segment or a 10-minute segment, but you can just take something and run with it.
Oh yeah, we love that. And we just, we have a template for the podcast, but we let it flow and we have great conversations with the people that we invite and it's really nice to be able to curate the episodes as well.
What are some of the topics that you did on your podcast? What you talked about a dancer's life. What are the elements that intrigued you the most that you wanted to express?
Hmm. Well, we've talked to the director of the New York Choreographic Institute about what it's like to lead that program and how he curates and invites different artists and how he hopes to build uh, new works for ballet in this century. One of my favorites, well, a few of them, because I love music so much. I've really enjoyed speaking to a rehearsal pianist, and he also plays for ballet class. And I just found it fascinating to learn all that he has to do and to know, and how quick he has to be able to think. I also really enjoyed speaking to one of the conductors at New York City Ballet because, again, he has to know so much about ballet, and of course, he has to know all about music, but he really has to know what's going on the stage and be able to like really flow with the artists on stage, which I find fascinating. And then I was very curious to know, how does he count with his hands like a crazy meter that has for us as dancers, it's like 9 beats instead of a traditional 8. Or like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. If it had 9 beats, I'm just curious about that because they have a very nuanced skill. So anyway, I really enjoyed the rehearsal pianist, the conductor, the dancers who talk about choreography, and then just some more personal things like we interviewed Maria Karowski as one of our first guests when she was retiring from the company after a long career. And it was a bittersweet podcast because um, you develop a love for what you do, and then to leave it behind is a challenge. And Yeah, so we were just very fortunate to interview a number of artists who speak from their heart and who also are very adept at what they do.
You have had in your career a chance to work in a lot of famous choreographers, either the ballet being passed on to you or the ballet being created and you're a part of it. I mean, somebody like George Balanchine he was not around when you learned his ballet, and it was taught to you by somebody who had done it, who may have learned it from somebody else who had done it over the years. And then you work with somebody like Justin Peck, who's a current choreographer who's creating work on you. As a dancer, is there a difference in learning a Balanchine versus something new?
I think there is. I mean, you have to be equally attentive, but I think in learning something that already exists, you you must do the steps that have been choreographed to maintain the integrity of the ballet. Whereas in a new work, you are listening to the choreographer's vision. But I think um, the best new choreography experiences are the ones where there's a give and a take. Like as a dancer in a new work, you are contributing your talent and your ideas, whether that's just purely physically by testing out the choreography or whether that is in a more verbal conversation. So I think one of the differences to me is that in doing existing choreography, there's a structure to it that you must adhere to. At the same time, you're trying to bring yourself into that structure so that it's not stale when you perform, or so that it's not true to who you are. But then in a new work, you are, I think, more giving of yourself and your through movement and through conversation, so that the choreographer can finesse his or her vision. And then I would say that you're really workshopping new choreography. Like if you're doing a piece that has already existed, the choreography's there. It's a matter of you learning it and doing it well. A new work takes much more time because this choreography is not set, and choreographer often has to figure out what it is. It doesn't happen so quickly. And so the time process for a new work is much longer than typically than staging an existing work.
We're going to take a very fast break to acknowledge the underwriters that make Artsbeat and our other programs possible. And when we come back, we're going to talk more with Claire Kretzschmar, who is the new artistic director of Ballet Hartford. And while we're taking the break, you can check their website, ballethartford.com, learn about their fall programs, and purchase tickets. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we'll return after these messages. So don't go away.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. If you've missed a part of today's program or you want to share it with friends or watch it again, it's archived on YouTube under WSKB Community Radio. My guest this first half hour of Artsbeat today is Claire Kretzschmar, who's the new artistic director of Ballet Hartford. She comes to Hartford after spending a decade as a soloist at New York City Ballet, which, as many of you know, is one of the most famous famous ballet companies in the world because it showcases not only contemporary work, but the work of its creator, George Balanchine, and later Jerome Robbins. And a trip to New York, just for example, to see some of that work performed at Lincoln Center is just incredible. And George Balanchine, before he founded New York City Ballet, had created a couple of ballets at the Wadsworth Atheneum in Hartford. So from Hartford, went to New York, founded New York City Ballet, and from New York City Ballet back to Hartford as Kretzschmar. As you look at some of the choreography and some of the ballets that you've done over the years, which ones would you like to bring to Ballet Hartford? What kind of a company of dancers do you have? How many people are involved in what you do?
Great question. I hope to build up a classical ballet company that really does emphasize the classical ballet tradition. With that said, there can be more contemporary works in that, but I love classical ballet. That's what we grow up training in. And so I hope to really build up a strong ballet company. Right now, the company exists with about 12 dancers. We do have 12 dancers, excuse me. And we have a trainee program, which is kind of like the pre-professional program where dancers are maybe between 18 and 24 years old, perhaps. And then we also have a school. We have a school of Ballet Hartford that is a growing school, and all of our classes and rehearsals take place right on one of the main roads in Hartford, which is Farmington Avenue at the 224 EcoSpace. And we have a team of people working on behind the scenes as well. We have a company manager named Hannah Bush. We have an executive director, Elena Doran, who is the former artistic director of Ballet Hartford. And then we have a number of people who help us with marketing and development and social media, which is very important for just getting the word out about the company, a number of teachers that work for the company, and so many more that are really instrumental in making this company something great and something that functions.
Now, a lot of ballet schools and smaller companies around the country are managed or artistically directed by alums of New York City Ballet. And oftentimes they send their better students to the New York City Ballet School, and then hopefully they join the New York City Ballet at some point down the road. Do you hope down the road, will you be able to feed talented students to New York?
I mean, I hope that students land where they can thrive. That is my goal for every dancer. And so that won't look the same. But I do hope that in time, Ballet Hartford will have a strong school that can lead into the company. Like I do hope that that will be something that young dancers, I mean, it's already happening. We have a number of young dancers interested in the School of Ballet Hartford, and we have a number of dancers interested in the company as well. But I hope that that reputation and the integrity of our organization continues to grow over time so that we can have a school that leads directly to our company first and foremost at Ballet Hartford. And then if it's not the right fit for a student at our school, then yes, like I would send them to New York, or I'd send them to out west or another ballet company where I think might, be a good fit for them. So it just depends. But I do hope to create an infrastructure similar to a lot of the ballet schools and companies in America, which is that you train at the school so that you can one day perhaps be in the company.
The Hartford-Springfield area has a rich tradition of ballet. At one time, there was a Hartford Ballet that did major productions at the Bushnell. And there's several schools in the area and several smaller ballet companies. Yours in Hartford, there's one in Northampton, not too far from us. So, but there, other than Jacob's Pillow, where there is major dance companies coming through during the summer, and a different one every week, we don't see a lot of touring dance come into Hartford or Springfield. Does that open an opportunity for you at Ballet Hartford to develop different kinds of dance programs to present around or about, or are you going to stick primarily with ballet?
Um, I feel like there's a need and a desire here in Hartford, and its surrounding areas to be a strong ballet company and to develop programs and relationships with the different organizations in the area. Hartford Ballet is very inspiring to me. Just the fact that that company existed for a long time here in Hartford, and it had great programs. I've seen pictures and seen the kind of rep that they did. And that to me is very encouraging because at one point there was a robust company here. And I'm not saying there are other companies that exist in Connecticut, and I'm aware of them and excited that they exist for the possibility of building up dance in Connecticut. But I do feel like there's a need for a strong ballet company once again, like one that has maybe a similar magnitude that Hartford Ballet once had. Maybe with a live orchestra would be fantastic to collaborate with the Hartford Symphony Orchestra. So yeah, I have great ambitions to collaborate with other organizations, and to consider this history that there was a robust company that was in the heart of Connecticut. And so hopefully becoming something like that in this day and age.
Are you going to be a commuter from New York to Hartford, or are you going to settle in Hartford or the surrounding areas?
No, I've actually, I'm in Connecticut now. I live in Manchester and I am settling here. I just bought a home. So I plan to be here for a long time and to establish roots with both the company and the state.
And how do you feel as the new kid on the block of artistic leaders? Are the other artistic groups welcoming to you? Do you find that you'll be able to build a lot of great bridges and collaborations and partnerships?
Yes, I have been so excited and grateful for some of the connections that I've established. Just in conversations, really, I've had some meetings with different people in the area, including Stephen Peer, who's at the Hart School, the dance division, and having a conversation with some teachers who already are here in Connecticut to see if they'd be willing to teach for us at different times. And I've had conversations with the other directors of ballet companies, like East Coast Contemporary Ballet. I just did a performance for them actually in which I danced. And so yes, the bottom line is I've been having a number of great conversations with people and establishing connections with both dance organizations and local Connecticut art institutions, which I find very exciting. And I'm all about collaboration, and I hope to work together and to, just uplift beauty today in Hartford.
If people want to get more information about Ballet Hartford or send their child or take a class themselves at your school, how do they get involved?
Yes, they can go to ballethartford.com and they can find access to all of those things there. We have also on our homepage a link for the school, so you can click that button and then there should be an email that you can contact for the official schedule and the location and the cost of the classes. And then you can also follow us at Ballet Hartford on Instagram and on Facebook. And I know I have my own Instagram account too, where I hope to share some things about the company that I'm so passionate about. And I am at CKRETZ92 on Instagram, and then just my name on Facebook.
Terrific. We've been chatting with Claire Kretzschmar from Ballet Hartford. She comes to us from New York City Ballet, and their season starts in October, so go to ballethartford.com to learn more about their performance season and their school. And if you're a business or an individual that loves ballet and wants to support a great ballet company that's up and coming in Hartford, that's your opportunity at Ballet Hartford. Claire, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. We're going to take a break to our Acknowledge Underwriters, and we'll be back with more Artsbeat. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. Don't go away.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardie siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio 89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. And if you're up at Chester Theater this weekend, you can see Hero Marguerite in Big, Big Sky, a wonderful play having its American premiere as the final show of Chester Theater's 35th anniversary season. Hero Marguerite has been on stage in A Christmas Carol at Hartford Stage, All My Sons at Hartford Stage, and many other productions at Chester and other theater companies. And she is one of our local actors who's really making strides in a lot of areas. And it's my pleasure to welcome Hero Marguerite to Artsbeat. Good to see you.
Great to see you, Mark. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I know that the day that we're taping, I am going up to see Big, Big Sky this afternoon. Which I'm real excited about. I've really enjoyed Chester's season this year. And for those of you who in the Westfield area, it's only 25 minutes up the road, up Route 20, and it's theater in the Chester Town Hall. It's a small theater. It's the 35th anniversary season of Chester. It was founded by a world-famous Irish actor and director named Vincent Dowling, who traipsed through the Berkshires and the foothills and decided Chester would be a place to found a theater. He made a deal with the town hall, and it's a little 125-seat theater in the town hall during the summer that gets national and international attention. And then when the show Big, Big Sky closes after this weekend, it becomes the town hall auditorium. People vote there. People go to city council meetings and stuff like that. But chestertheater.org is the place to go to get tickets. Hero, how did you become an actor, and why have you put your career together in Western Mass?
Yeah, of course. So I have grown up in a really thespian family. My father's a dramaturg, my mom is an actor, so I really grew up in the soup of, this world. And I luckily took to it, and this is such a great place, I think, to come up as an actor. There's such a rich arts community, as you know, with the Berkshires and with the Pioneer Valley sort of just atmosphere. And Chester Theater Company is really my home theater. And I'm so lucky to be back. I think I was counting, it's been now almost 6 years since I started working for Chester Theater Company as a research intern initially through Smith College. And then, slowly was welcomed into other roles, other aspects of the theater, and made my professional debut technically last summer with Circle Mirror Transformation, directed by Daniel Elihu Kramer. And I'm so glad to be back. I really am.
Well, preview Big Big Sky. Since I've only seen the press release and haven't seen the show, I know it's an American premiere. I know it's directed by James Warwick, who acts and directs, and directed at Shakespeare and Company earlier this season. And then he and Jay Sefton are going to do Moon for the Misbegotten at the Majestic in October. But what is Big Big Sky about?
Yeah, Big Big Sky is it's this really tender, it's very sweet, it's very funny, sort of look into the microcosm of this 4-person found family, that it finds each other and deals with loss and laughter and stuff, sort of everyday trials and tribulations in this tiny seaside village of East Yorkshire, Kilnsea. So it's a daughter and a father-daughter duo, and sort of the mother figure in her life, and then this newcomer, right, who shows up and sort of stirs things up. Not too much, but just a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of a classic, like, realistic family drama, and yeah, very tender, very sweet, dealing with the everyday sort of feelings of loss and finding each other.
I understand it's an American premiere, and that the author had written a book and then adapted the book as a play. Did Chester approach you and say, "Hero, you're going to do this," or did you seek out the play and say, "I want to do it"? What drew you to the play?
Yeah, that's so interesting. I actually didn't know that it was a book, but that makes sense now that I'm thinking about it, and now that you're saying that, because Tom Wells, the playwright, grew up in the town that this play takes place. So my sense is that there are certain autobiographical, or at least biographical, details in the story. We were talking about it in the rehearsal room like last week, and this play offers, I think, something that draws me to it is it offers a slowness and sort of a simplicity that I feel like in such like a sort of fast-paced digital age, with there's so much that feels so big and sometimes insurmountable, and certainly it's important to reflect, I think, in the art that we make, but I think also the simpler sort of issues and the more immediate challenges that these 4 characters face were really compelling, because it feels tangible. It feels sort of I don't know. Yeah, there's something very human about the language and about their stories, and I think that's kind of what drew me to the script for sure. And yeah,
did Chester approach you to? Did you know about the script ahead of time? Did Chester approach you and say you'd be perfect for this, or did it just happen?
Yeah, it was actually kind of funny because I had connected with James Warwick, the director of Big Big Sky, after a separate a project that I was working on that he saw, and then he and I were really kind of scheming ways to work together. I admire him so much. I think he's just been such like an amazing captain of our ship through this whole process. And so I really wanted to work with him. I was really honored that he seemed to want to work with me. And so back in sort of the spring, we were talking about, upcoming projects and ways that we could maybe work together. And I think I emailed him when I saw that Chester Theatre Company was doing Big Big Sky and that he was directing. And I was like, I really would love to audition for you, and kind of went from there. So yeah, it was born out of both an appreciation for the script and also a desire to, I think, work with particularly James.
And you're one of a quartet of actors involved in this play. Who are some of the people? Who are some of the actors you're working with?
Yeah, so I have the pleasure of working once again with Abuzer Farouk, who is one of the company members. Abuzer and I, audiences will recognize him from last season at Chester Theater Company. He was in Guards at the Taj, and in 2018, I believe he was in another play at Chester Theater Company, which the name of which is escaping me at the moment. But Abuzer and I actually have had a long history of working together since we were both students in the Pioneer Valley. He was at UMass, I was at Smith College. So it's been so great to sort of reconnect. And then James Barry, who's the artistic director of Chester Theater Company, of course, is a fantastic father in this play to my character Lauren. And then Megan McDonough, who is a newcomer to the Chester Theater Company scene, but is a longtime friend and colleague of James Barry and Tara Franklin, joins the cast. Yes.
I interviewed a couple of people from Barrington Stage for their production of Boeing, and it's their 30th anniversary season. And the three actors had worked together over the last 20 years and said that Barrington is a big family. And people describe Berkshire Theater Group as a big family and Chester as a big family. Is it easy for you to come back to Chester and work with people that you know and work with all the time, as opposed to walking into Hartford Stage and doing something like All My Sons with Marcia Mason?
Yeah. Yes, there's definitely an aspect of real family. I mean, both experiences are amazing and wonderful, but there is something really special about a theater like Chester where not only is everyone supporting each other in their various roles, but everyone has sort of, or not everyone, but so many people have taken on so many of those different roles. So you really understand what it means to be the admin person if you're the actor, or the actor if you're the artistic director, or if you're a designer, what it is like to be one of the tech hands. So I think there's an element of understanding the tasks that everyone is sort of undertaking that really comes through. And also it's just like getting to create these stories with people that I not only admire artistically and professionally, but just really enjoy spending time with. I genuinely just love these people that I get to show up and work with every day.
And you were at Chester before James and Tara took over the role of co-artistic directors.
Yeah. I was a student at Smith College where Daniel Elihu Kramer is a professor, who was the previous artistic director of Chester Theater Company. And Daniel and I kind of immediately from when I started out as a first year at Smith, sort of started working together. I was his research assistant, I think I mentioned. And he really folded me into this family. And I owe a lot to him for bringing me on as an artistic administrator, as eventually an actor with Circle Mirror. And James and Tara were always a part of the theater company. They've been working here both as actors and directors and admin for a while now, but it's been really great to see them take this operation over, and in some ways, like, it feels like we're keeping it in the family, like
it felt that way.
Transition, but yeah.
Earlier this summer, we brought Artsbeat up to Chester. We taped 2 programs on the stage, and we had a chance to talk with Tara and James and Mr. Warwick and Jay Sefton and Kira Naughton. It was like we talked with two people from each of the four productions that were happening at Chester this year. And I've known Tara and James for years, and I'm so proud of them for taking over Chester and not only maintaining what Daniel Elihu Kramer had built, but taking it to the next level. And it intrigued I get a kick when you go there. You see James is putting boxes away or being a production manager, and Tara's running around. Everybody that works at Chester takes on multiple roles, on stage and off. It's like a group of siblings getting a show together.
Yeah. No, it's totally, and it's so funny that you say that, because I think there's, getting back to even just, right, like Big Sky and the dynamics that drew me initially to the script. It's like there's real echoes in the real life theater and this script that we're putting up of like family dynamics, and how do you all take on the roles that need to be taken on, and how do you make sure that like the ship is staying afloat. And it's great. Yeah, that people see what needs to be done and take it on themselves to like get it done. And James and Tara are just total superheroes. I don't even really know how they're doing it, frankly, but it's a pleasure to watch.
It is, and they're frequent guests on this show. That usually around Valentine's Day, they come on and we talk about the upcoming season at Chester. And I love the fact that Tara's side hustle is the best cookie makers in the world.
Oh gosh, yes. It's dangerous to have her around. Oh, she's actually, this is a fun tidbit. She is making all of the pastries and desserts that the four actors in Big Sky consume over the course of the play. So there's a certain amount of, baked goods that we have to eat on stage.
Yeah,
and I'm so grateful that Tara is in charge of making those goodies.
It's funny, if you follow James Barry or Tara Franklin on Instagram, James Barry was posting pictures of the pasties when he was putting them together and getting them in the oven. And he said that that every show you guys were consuming lots of food because the show takes place in a cafe.
Yes. The show takes place in a cafe, and I don't think I realized until we were about a week and a half into rehearsal just how much food James Barry especially was going to have to be eating on stage. And it's not like this, he eats 3 pastries and 3 plates of beans every single show. That's a lot of food.
That sure is. We're gonna take a quick break to acknowledge our underwriters. Before we do, you can learn about Big Sky, which is the final production of Chester's 35th season, at chestertheatre.org. And if you're a traveler, Chester Theatre runs 2 theater trips a year. Their fall trip is to Toronto and the Stratford, Ontario Theatre Festivals. Their spring trip is to London, and the itineraries and everything are posted online at chestertheatre.org. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we'll be back after these messages, so don't go away.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donuts shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Saturdays were made for polka. Tune in to the Polka Jammer Network starting at 6 a.m. and Polka Hall of Famer Billy Bellina, Breakfast at BB at 8:30.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer, and we're spending this half hour with hero Marguerite, who is one of the stars of Big Sky, a new play having its American premiere at Chester Theatre through Sunday, and tickets are available at chestertheatre.org. Last year, Hero, you were a member of the cast at Hartford stages A Christmas Carol, and then you came back and did All My Sons with Marcia Mason. That was a beautiful production, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I was an understudy for All My Sons, so I got the chance to watch the show sometimes 5 times a week, and every single time I was just blown away and in tears by the end of the show. One of the most moving.
Did you get to go on?
Pieces.
Did you get to go on at all during the run?
No, I did not. And honestly, thankfully, I was more than happy to take on the role of understudy. But that play is it's such an ensemble piece that there was a real sense of I was just glad everyone stayed happy and healthy, and I got to see the show so many times. And Christmas Carol. Before that, Harvard Stage is, I think, another one of those theaters that feels a little bit like home for me. I grew up in Hartford, and it's been great to return to that theater, and I'll be back this winter in A Christmas Carol. So if you didn't get the chance last winter to come out, you can come out this winter.
Yeah, I got to say that A Christmas Carol, their production of A Christmas Carol, which is created by Michael Wilson, is absolutely a spectacle to the eyes. I could go back and see it every year. A friend of mine is in it almost every year, Noble Shropshire, who got his start when there was a theater in Springfield called Stage West, and we were all colleagues there at the same time. What are some of the other things you'll be doing in the fall, or will you be primarily auditioning?
Yeah, primarily auditioning. The life is honestly 80% auditioning and looking for a gig, 20% working the gig. But I'll be headed back to Hartford in October to start rehearsals for A Christmas Carol, and then we'll see where the wind takes me.
Do you remember the first play or musical that you saw when you said to yourself, I've got to do this?
Oh my God. That is so funny. And in all honesty, it was probably A Christmas Carol at Hartford Stage. I have a very interesting circular legacy with this show. My mother was in the cast from 1998 until 2012, I think. So I grew up like fully running around the backstage of that theater. And obviously now she's sort of moved on to a different, she's not so much on stage anymore, but returning as an adult and now as a performer instead of little child has been really magical. And like you said, it's a show that you can see over and over again. And I think I was really impacted as a kid by the spectacle of it, by the sort of awe-inspiring elements that it manages to create, all while telling this really kind of.
It's funny because there are a lot of productions of A Christmas Carol around. There's a beautiful one at Berkshire Theater Group every year that was adapted and directed by Eric Hill. But the Hartford one has such an element of spectacle with people flying out of trapdoors and ghosts careening in the air. It's a real feast for the eyes. And to me, if I were taking a child to the theater for the first time, that's a great introductory play. It has the message of Charles Dickens and everything, but wow, that uses every trapdoor, every opportunity to fly an actor and all of that. Is that a difficult show to rehearse?
Honestly, from my end, it's not, because I'm just focused on my sort of acting track. But I see the work that goes into making the tech run smoothly, and it is like astronomical. Like the work that the crew and the stage manager and the all the hands are doing to make it all happen smoothly and safely is astounding. It's really beautiful to watch.
Now, once upon a time, you were a child working with adult actors at Hartford Stage, and now you're an adult working with child actors. Do you find that they have the same enthusiasm that you did as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, it varies for sure, but I get the honor of playing Mrs. Cratchit in Christmas Carol, and so I do have a sort of contingent of child actors who play all my children, and they are one of the best parts of the show. Like, their excitement and their awe at the story that they get to tell, really fuels me. It's great. I'm always so grateful that I get to work with them.
You're part of what they call the creative economy, or artists that base in our area in Western New England. What draws you or keeps you here in Western New England as opposed to going to LA or New York?
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing is I think so many artists bridge many different geographic regions, and I really do consider myself, even though I live, part-time in Brooklyn, I consider Western Mass and this artistic community the place that I grew up as an artist, and where I learned, I think, not just the commercial aspects of the industry, but where I think the real appreciation for the sort of grounded artistic, do it for the story mentality, this is where that was instilled in me. And I think I come back because of the people, because I think the people who work at these theaters and with these stories in Western Mass, are in it for the right reasons. And that is something that comes up, and that is something you think about as an artist in this world. Yeah.
As a hero, do you have heroes in theater, people that have inspired you to move forward?
Oh, my parents, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. Every time I think I have a question or concern, there's so many things about the trade that you have to learn on the fly, and I'm just really grateful that they have been sort of my champions in this ever since I first expressed an interest, because it's not an easy profession, and they know that firsthand. So to have them kind of have my back and share their wisdom and tell me to go for it when it gets tricky, has made all the difference, I think, in being a young artist.
I can understand. I can understand that, because my mother was a dancer and pushed me. She didn't push me into musical theater, but when she knew I was interested in it, then she made sure that I got the classes and got the performance experience. And she was, as I morphed from performing into broadcasting, she offered all kinds of advice. It's a really rough business for all of us to be in. It's very competitive. There's a lot of disappointments. You're always auditioning for something. And she was my focus. And, I always credit my mom, who had been a dancer in the biz and understood it. So you growing up in a home where there was support makes it a lot easier for you than a lot of your colleagues.
Totally. Yeah, parents, go champion your kids' artistic endeavors.
For sure. We've been chatting with hero Marguerite, who's starring in Big, Big Sky. It runs at Chester Theater through the weekend. You can get tickets and information at chestertheater.org. Hero, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much, Mark. I appreciate it.
And I'll see you in a couple of hours when I get to go up and see a preview of the show, which actually opens tonight, and we're taping a week prior to the time that you're going to hear and see this. So this wraps up another edition of Artsbeat TV and Radio. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. We'll see you next Friday.
Did you notice what a beautiful day it is today? Yeah, I noticed. Ain't it funny about days? What a jerk of a day was Wednesday. By the time I got to sleep, all the interest in life that I had left, I'd have sold you awful cheap. But I opened my eyes this morning, and I knew by every sign that whatever I wanted to do today would be sure to turn out fine. When the sun flew in my window and crept in bed with me, I knew that this would be a sweet Thursday. When the wind got confidential and whispered through a tree, I knew that this would be a sweet Thursday. My head was up in the clouds, my heart was flapping its wings. I looked at the sky and wanted to try to do impossible things. What a day it's been for dreaming, my dreams have all come true. And if one I kept for you turns out to be right, it's gonna be a sweet Thursday night for me. It's gonna be a sweet Thursday night. A good kind of confident feeling has followed me all day long. My luck was in, I played to win, I knew I couldn't go wrong. A bright red geranium told me today was my day for fun. A katydid said, take it, kid, you better take it and run. Some shirts hanging up on a clothesline kept waving their tails my way. Hiya, fauna, hiya, babe. Ain't this a doll of a day? Hi, boys. Ain't this a doll of a day? When the sun flew in my window and crept in bed with me, I knew that this would be a sweet Thursday. When the wind got confidential and whispered through a tree, I knew that this would be a sweet Thursday. My head was up in the clouds, my heart was flapping its wings. I looked at the sky and wanted to try to do impossible things. What a day it's been for dreaming, my dreams have all come true. And if one for Doc and Sue turns out to be right,